make sure we get this done today, Your Honor.
Yes. Robertson.
Aaronson, Your Honor. She's in the hallway.
All right. Can you grab the cup here, please? All right, good morning, Ms. Aaronson, and we're just waiting for the clerk. All right, Mrs. Robertson.
Raise your right hand, please. You can solemnly swear that your testimony you may give in the cause not coming before this court should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes. Please have a seat on the witness stand and state and spell your first and last name for the record. Ellen Aaronson,
All right, could you spell that for us, please?
ELLENAARONSON.
All right, Ms. Aaronson, would you just sit back, please, and then pull the microphone towards you? Thank you. Mr. Cochran.
Thank you very kindly, Your Honor. Good morning, Ms. Aaronson.
Good morning.
Ms. Aaronson, what is your occupation?
I work as a production executive for a company. We produce children's television shows based on toys that we make.
And what kind of toys does that company make?
We make the toys for the Power Rangers, for the Tick, Mega Man. They're not going to forgive me for this. A number of different toy lines that we're starting based a lot of on Japanese television shows that come to the United States.
All right. Now, I'd like, ma'am, to ask you whether or not you're acquainted with a gentleman by the name of Mr. Danny Mandel.
We had a date once,
So,
so to speak.
so was he the man who just left? Did you still recognize him as he went out?
Yes,
All right. That was the gentleman you had a date with once?
yes,
And as I understand it, you and Mr. Mandel have the same doctor, is that correct?
yes,
And this doctor arranged the date at some time back in June of 1994?
correct,
And the date of that date was June 12th, 1994?
correct.
All right. And back at that time, where did you live, ma'am?
Excuse me?
Where did you live on June 12th of 1994?
Same address where I live now, which is 119.
Well, you don't have to give your,
okay.
I don't think you should give your address.
Good.
Tell us what street you lived on.
Darlington,
Okay, and you still live the same place now?
yes.
All right. And tell us how this date took place. Did Mr. Mandel come to your house?
He picked me up.
All right. And you told us you lived at this location. Did anyone else live there with you?
I have two roommates.
All right. And they same roommates now, or at that time?
No, I have different roommates now.
You had two roommates at that time?
I had two roommates at that time.
And what were their names, if you recall?
Tell you their names?
Yes, you can tell us.
Jennifer Yao and Jean Novak.
All right.
Can you spell those for us, please?
Jennifer, or the last name Yao, Y-O-W, and Novak, N-O-V-A-C-K.
All right. Those are your roommates back on June 12th?
Correct.
At the Darlington residence?
Right.
All right. On this particular date, can you tell the court and jury what time Mr. Mandel arrived at your location, your house?
He arrived at my house a little after 8 o'clock p.m.
All right. And did he come in at that point?
No,
All right.
he didn't come inside my apartment.
Okay, well, tell us what happened once he got there a little after 8 o'clock on June 12th, 1994.
He rang the bell. I really don't recall if he walked into the apartment. We met. We left my gate. We walked towards his car. We went into his car. He asked me what I wanted to have for dinner, if I had a place I wanted to go to. I said, why don't we go to Mezzaluna? And because it's really walking distance, we decided to walk, so we left his car and then proceeded to walk to Mezzaluna.
All right. So you got out of the car, and then you proceeded to walk to a restaurant called Mezzaluna?
Correct.
And, Your Honor, we now have our board, and it might be easier, I suppose, to use the same board for continuity. I think we'll use this board.
All right, proceed.
Okay, thank you. If I were to approach, if the clerk allows me to, just briefly, I'd like you to show the jury generally where your apartment is, and so we're acclimated And if you need to step down, you can. Do you see Dorothy there?
Yes, Darlington is this street.
All right.
I live between Bundy and Westgate, about a few houses in,
All right.
so right around there.
And where's Westgate?
Right here.
Westgate's here, and this is Bundy here.
Correct.
So you live between Bundy and Westgate on Darlington, a few houses in from Bundy, is that correct?
Yes.
All right. So we have a general idea.
Yeah.
Okay. And I presume then that after you got out of Mr. Mandel's car, you decided to go someplace at that point, is that right?
Right.
And where did you go? And did you know how to get there?
Yes, I knew how to get there.
Did you kind of lead the way?
Pretty much so.
Can you tell this court and jury what route you took? And if you need to familiarize yourself with that particular map, give us an idea of which way you went to the Metzluna restaurant.
You want me to point it out again?
Yes, can you do that for us?
Danny was parked on the other side of the street from my apartment. He left. We walked down the street, down Darlington. That's Dorothy, I apologize. We crossed over Westgate.
Okay, the first street you come to is Westgate there? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, you crossed over Westgate.
We crossed Westgate to Granville.
Street called Granville?
Right.
Is that, for the record, Granville?
Correct.
All right. And when you got to Granville, what happened?
Headed north,
All right, you turned left on Granville?
turned left on Granville.
All right, and then where'd you go?
Went a few blocks up to right where Gorham basically is at that stage. Bundy turns into Gorham, so that's Gorham at this stage.
All right. And then
So
you-
we
you-
crossed the street,
all right. And you got to the restaurant?
and that we're really on the side of the restaurant at that stage.
Okay, so
But
that's generally the route that you took?
Yeah, we then
Right.
just walked around it to go to the front of the restaurant.
Okay. All right, trace that one more time for us so everybody's clear how you went.
I'm on
You went up
Darlington.
Darlington?
We walked down Darlington past Westgate, got to Granville, made a left on Granville, went up to Gorham, and at Gorham, we crossed the street to the side of the restaurant, walked down, and then walked around to the entrance of the restaurant.
All right, and so that we're clear, the kind of moon-shaped circle there, that's supposedly Metzluna.
Right.
All right. And do you know about what time it was that you arrived at Metzluna?
We probably arrived there at around 8:30.
All right. And this was a blind date, your first date, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so once you arrived there, did the two of you have dinner?
We sat down.
All right.
We didn't have dinner immediately.
All right. Did you sat down, it was like a regular date, right?
Right.
All right, well, we'll skip over the first parts.
I'd appreciate it.
All right. And then at some point you ate, did you not?
Yes, it took a while. Service wasn't very fast that evening.
All right. So I'm sure they'll be glad to hear that.
Sorry.
And you then ordered dinner, is that
We
right?
ordered dinner.
Do you remember what you had that night, ma'am?
I recall we both had pasta.
All right. And you had your pasta. Did you have anything of an alcoholic nature to drink that night?
No.
All right. And so you had the pasta, and then the date continued. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now, there came a time when I presume you finished your meal. Is that correct?
Yes.
And at some point, did somebody call for the check that evening?
No, we never asked for the check. The waitress asked us if we would close out.
All right. Close out means to settle up with her. Is that
To
correct?
settle up with her. Her shift was ending.
All right. That was a lady?
It was a
Female
lady.
waitress? Do you know her name?
I don't know her name at all.
All
No,
right.
I don't recall.
And you'd been to that restaurant before?
Yes.
Had you had that particular waitress before, if you recall?
I don't recall.
All right. After she asked you to settle up, what happened then?
Danny paid immediately. The bill came back to us pretty quickly afterwards, a few minutes later.
All right. And so when you said he paid, we paid by credit card?
By
you mean?
credit card.
All right. So there's a credit card record of the amount of the purchase and the tip and all that sort of thing. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. After you settle up with this particular waitress, did you leave the restaurant immediately at that point?
No.
Do you have an estimate for this court and jury of about what time it was that you settled up the check at Metzluna that evening?
After we got the check, we sat there and talked for about 10, 15 minutes and then left.
All right, so you talked for about 10 or 15 minutes after you got the check, is that right?
After we got the bill back to us.
All right, and do you have an idea of about what time you got it back? What time was it, approximately around 10 o'clock at that point?
Objection leading.
Well,
Sustained.
the counsel's correct, right? What time was it that you got the bill back?
I
from
can
the
only
waitress?
estimate.
Your best estimate, yes.
I looked at my watch when she first came and asked the two of us to pay, which was 10 to 2.
10 to
10 to 10.
10 to 10.
And The bill came very shortly afterwards, about
Right.
5-10 minutes later, not even 10 minutes.
All right, and if I were to show you a copy of the receipt, which indicates that it was, it's not considered drug.
Sustained. Did you see the bill?
Oh, Lay Foundation, yes.
All right.
Thank you. Did you have occasion to see that bill that night, or have you seen it since that time?
I haven't seen it since. I only saw the bill when it came
You saw it that night,
to the table. I didn't study the bill.
but you saw it.
Yes.
All right, may I approach it? I just want you just to look at it and ask you whether or not.
Objection, Your Honor, that's not the bill. That's his credit card receipt.
Sustained.
You saw what you saw, I presume, was the credit card bill, the imprint, is that right?
The credit card receipt I saw returned.
Yes. That's what you meant, but.
I'm sorry.
Okay, that's all right. Can you look at this? This is a faxed copy received to the court. This looks similar to the copy of what you saw that particular evening, ma'am? That Mr.
It looks like a receipt that Metzeluna would give.
All right. And with regard to the bill that particular evening, did Mr. Mandel pay it?
Correct.
And he paid it by credit card?
Yes.
All right. After he paid this particular bill, you described for the court and jury the fact that you continued to talk for 10 or 15 minutes after that. Is that correct?
Yes.
So did you stay at the same table?
Yes.
All right. And at some time after the 10 or 15 minute period of time, did you have occasion to leave the Metzeluna restaurant? After you
Correct.
finished
Yeah,
talking?
right. After we sat and talked for about 10-15 minutes, we left.
All right. And the bill had been paid now, and now the date was, this part of the date was going to end, right?
Right.
All right. And do you recall whether or not there were other people inside that restaurant at that time?
I recall that the restaurant was full. It
All
was
right, and
very crowded.
It was crowded that evening?
Yeah.
When you got ready to leave, do you remember whether it was full still? Your best recollection?
My best recollection, it was not as full as when we arrived.
All right. Now, at any rate, how did you leave the restaurant? Which door did you go out of, if you recall, when you left the restaurant?
Oh, it's not the restaurant. I recall that we left on the exit door that was by our table,
Yes.
which was a side door. And we
right.
climbed over the fence on the side of the restaurant.
And that's how you got out?
Right. It's a
Okay.
low fence.
Okay, and you climbed out, and that's how you left after you paid the bill, is that right?
Yes.
Do you know about what time it was at that time, ma'am?
I only know if I add up my time.
All right.
I did not look at my watch.
All right. You didn't look at your watch at that time?
No.
You know what time you asked for the check, is that correct?
Right.
And then how much time elapsed between the time that you asked for the check and the waitress brought the check back to you?
I have to sort of change. I didn't ask for the check
Okay, strike that. Let me restate it anyway. You're right. How much time elapsed from the time that the waitress asked you to close out
until we got the
till
bill.
the time you got the bill?
About, from the time she came up to us, Danny handed her the credit card and she came back. I'm approximating here 5 to 8 minutes
All right.
at the most.
All right. So then you then got it, and then he then signed it pretty quickly. Is that correct?
He signed it.
Okay. And then was it then 10 or 15 minutes after that before
It
you
was
then
then
left?
10 or 15 minutes after that.
All right.
Excuse me, counsel. Mr. Aaronson, would you please allow Mr. Cochran and Ms. Clark to finish asking questions of you before you start to answer? Court reporter can only write down one person at a time.
Okay.
And if you both talk at the same time, it makes her job very difficult.
Okay.
Thank you, Aaron. All right. So it's at 10 or 15 minutes after you gotten the check, you then left this restaurant, right?
Right.
Okay. And did you leave walking, I
Yes.
presume? All right. Now I want you to show the court and jury again which way you took to go back to your residence. And I'd like for you to use the pointer if you can and show us which way you took.
Okay, from Metzeluna, we walked down Gorham, we passed Westgate, and Gorham then turns into Bundy, and we turned on Bundy. This whole time, we were on the north side of Gorham. We crossed over
Okay,
Bundy.
let me stop you there as you took that route. This route you're describing for us, again, how'd you select that particular route?
When we got to Westgate,
Yes.
which my apartment is between Westgate and Bundy, we were talking, and I just asked Danny if he wanted to take the short walk home or the long walk home.
And what did he say?
take the longer walk home.
So it was still a date, right? So you took,
We were just talking.
all right, so
Right.
you took a longer walk home.
Took a longer walk home.
All right. So you proceeded on down Gorham at that point.
Correct. We
right.
proceeded down Gorham.
All right. As indicated, Your Honor, for the record, the witness is pointing using the diagram. And she's proceeding down Gorham. This is People's 26 of the correct please.
Yes.
Down Gorham Square. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so when you, as you were walking down Gorham, do you recall, the two of you walked, and as you turned on Bundy, do you recall on which side of Bundy did you go when you made that turn at Gorham to Bundy?
As we crossed over where Gorham and Bundy meet,
Yes,
we
ma'am.
stayed on the same side, which was west, which because the road turns, it turns into the north side.
All right, so-
Excuse me, it's the north side and it turns into the west side of the street.
And, Your Honor, I'm going to want to trace this particular route if I can, and I'd like to do this if we can. May I have just 1 second? Thank you. I'm going to ask, so we have a record of this, that Mr. Harris be allowed I want to trace the route going first, then we'll do a separate one with the coming back. The court pleases on the Elmo.
All right, maybe we can just have different colors for each route.
Sure, is that okay, Mr. Harris? All right, why don't you direct Mr. Harris? Now, we're starting at Darlington. That's approximately where you live? Is that
Yes.
right? All right, we'll trace the route that you took. Why don't you direct Mr. Harris, and he will,
Do you want me to do it through this or just keep telling you where
yeah,
to go?
tell him which way to go on Darlington.
Go east. You're on Dorothy, but go east 2 blocks from there. That's Westgate. Go 1 more block to Granville. Stop at Granville. Make a left at Granville and head up. All the way up to Gorham. You're going to cross Gorham and go into Mezzaluna Restaurant. If you want to, right.
So that's the general route that you took going. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd like to print this out as our defense's next exhibit, if the court pleases.
All right.
The next is,
This will be
there's an extra
defense
X on there.
12.
There's an X of Dorothy I'd like to take off there.
All right.
Can you get that off? All right, is that fairly accurate?
Yeah.
All right, what's that number, Your Honor?
1233.
1233? I'd like to print this out.
All right, is that captured, Mr. Fretlow? Oh, Mr. Harris? All right, proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, I'd like, Your Honor, as soon as that's captured, Your Honor, if it's captured, to have Ms. Aaronson to demonstrate the route back to her apartment. And I presume that's Gorham, is that correct?
That's
So
Gorham.
why don't you direct him down from Gorham?
Now you should head west all the way down to where Gorham and Bundy meet.
You might want to stay on the street.
Now head north down Bundy. Now, I'm getting my, excuse me, heading south down.
South on Bundy at that point?
Right, Bundy turns. We were on the west side of the street, though.
All right.
Go all the way down to Darlington, which is 1 block past Dorothy. Turn left onto Darlington. And I would pretty much go maybe about another centimeter and stop there. It's pretty much where my apartment is.
Okay, we mark that. Is that, again, the general route that you took home? Is that the general route that you took home?
Yeah,
And that's the longer route that you described for us, is that right?
right.
Now, As you were walking along this route, as you were proceeding down Gorham to Bundy, and to go southbound on Bundy, what were you and Mr. Mandel doing at that point?
We were talking,
And without going into the subject matter of the conversation, was this just general conversation?
just general conversation.
All right. And as you walked down, how long have you lived in that general area, ma'am?
I've lived there now for 3.5 years.
All right. And you said you were on the west side of the street. Is that correct?
Correct.
And do you recall who was closest to the street and who was closest to would be the sidewalk?
I was on the outside.
All right. So you were on the closest to the street side.
Yes.
Mr. Mandel was inside. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you recall him doing anything other than talking as you walked along?
On that side of the street?
Yes, on
I was
Bundy, as you were going southbound on Bundy.
hitting the trees, the leaves on the trees.
All
Just
right.
walking, and he was hitting the trees. That was pretty much it.
All right. And at some point, did you walk past 875 South Bundy?
Yes.
And you know where 875 South Bundy is, and you became aware of that. Is that correct?
I know where 875 Bundy is now.
All right. And you walked right past that place that particular night?
Yes.
All right. And photograph that Mr. Shapiro used, Your Honor. I want to approach if I might, Your Honor.
Yes.
I have People's 42 for identification. Before I put on the Elmo, and I want Your Honor to cut the feed at any rate, I'll ask the witness a couple of questions. You described for us that you were proceeding on the west side of Bundy, southbound, you on the outside, and Mr. Mandel on the inside. Is that correct? I want to show you People's 42, which purports to be a photograph. Have you seen this photograph before?
Yes.
And do you recognize what's depicted in this photograph, supposedly the front part of the 875 Bundy?
Yes.
And you recognize that area depicted therein?
Yes.
Did you walk past that area that particular night?
Yes, I did.
Now, when you walk past 875 South Bundy, do you have a recollection of whether or not you looked to your right, or did anything attract your attention as you walked past that location toward that particular condominium?
Nothing attracted my attention at all.
As you walked down the sidewalk proceeding southbound, did you see any bloody paw prints or any traces of blood on the sidewalk that evening as you walked?
No, I didn't.
As you walked past 875 Bundy, did you at any time hear the plaintive wail of a dog?
No, I didn't.
Did you hear any dogs barking as opposed to plaintively wailing?
No.
So you continued with your conversation as you walked past, is that correct?
Yes.
Was there anything at all that attracted your attention to 875 Bundy when you walked past this location?
No.
So, Your Honor, if I might, cut the feet out with this motion.
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. And as you walked past 875 Bundy, you did not see the scene depicted there at the time you walked past. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. Thank you. You may take it down. Thank you. Now, as you continued on, we'll put the back. As you continued on your route home, at some point, was there a discussion of the time between you and Mr. Mandel? Did anybody look at their watch, if you recall?
Danny looked at his watch.
All right. And was that at some point after you passed the location of 875 South Bundy?
Yes.
And so you were between 875 South Bundy and your home at that point?
Yes.
And at that time, the two of you had a conversation about what time it was? You can answer that yes or no.
Yes.
All right.
Objection, that's leading and calls for hearsay.
Sustained.
All right. Did you have a discussion about what time it was?
Objection, same objection.
Sustained.
You have a conversation with Mr. Mandel on the way home? They continue?
Yes.
In the course of that conversation, did you ever discuss time?
No.
Did you ever discuss what time it was at any point?
We didn't discuss what time it was, but he looked at his watch.
All right. Was there ever a time when either one of you looked at a watch?
Yes.
And who looked at a watch?
Danny.
And where were you approximately when Mr. Danny Mandel looked at his watch?
We were between where my apartment is, sort of right in the middle from where my apartment is to the corner of Darlington and Bundy.
All right, if you were to look at the diagram again, to your right, I guess that's People's 26, I believe. Can you use the pointer and show the jury approximately where you were at the time?
If this is the corner, my house is over here, we were over there.
All right, so you were between the corner of Bundy, you were going now, which direction is that?
We're heading east.
East on Darlington, between the corner of, or your intersection of Bundy and Darlington as you approached your house, is that correct?
Right.
Okay. And did you see him look at his watch at that point?
Yes.
All right. And did he at some point say something about the time?
Objection, Your Honor.
You can answer that yes or no.
Objection.
Sustained.
All right. So you saw him look at his watch, right? Okay. Now, then did you go back to your house?
Yes.
Okay. And when you got home, did Mr. Mandel leave immediately, or did he come up, or what happened at that point?
Gave him a glass of water,
All right, so he came inside? Okay.
came inside,
All
I
right.
gave him a glass of water. We talked for a few minutes, and then one of my roommates came home.
All right. Now, which roommate came home after you were inside the apartment, if you recall?
My roommate, Jean Novak.
Gene Novak? And do you know what time Gene Novak came home?
Yes, I do.
And what time was that?
10:35.
All right. And how long had you been in the house when Miss Novak came home at about 10:35?
About 5 minutes.
So what is your best estimate of the time that you got back to your residence there on Darlington that night?
I misunderstood your
Let
question.
me ask the question another way. You told us that your roommate got home about 10:35.
Right.
And you'd been home about 5 minutes?
Right.
So you got home about 10:30?
Correct.
All right. And from the location of 875 South Bundy to your residence, how long did it take you to walk that distance that particular night?
About 4 minutes.
All right. So about 4 minutes from the 875 South Bundy to your residence on Darlington. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Got to answer out loud.
Yes,
All
that's
right.
correct.
Now, since that time, have you had occasion to go back out and walk this particular route?
Yes.
And on how many occasions have you done that? The route you took that night, I'm talking about.
A few occasions on my own,
All right.
and one occasion very recently where I timed it.
All right, you timed it yourself? Were you accompanied by anybody when you did that?
Yes, I was accompanied by someone,
By whom?
by both Pat McKenna and Peter Neufeld,
All right, Peter Neufeld, the lawyer?
the lawyer.
All right. And how long ago was that?
2 weeks ago?
All right. And did you walk the route going to the restaurant?
Yes.
And how long did that take? From your house to the restaurant that you've told us about?
We didn't time that route,
All right. But did you time the route coming back from
but
the
we
restaurant?
timed the route coming back.
All right. And from the time, how long did it take to walk from Mezzaluna back to your residence on Darlington?
It took altogether about 19 minutes.
All right. And how long did it take, if you know, from the restaurant to 875 South Bundy?
It took us 15 minutes.
So there's about a 4-minute difference, is that right?
Correct.
And did you try, as you walked this route, did you try to walk at approximately the same pace you walked that particular night?
Yes.
So altogether 19 minutes, and to 875 South Bundy, about 15 minutes from the restaurant, is that right?
Yes.
Now, you were describing for us that you had a roommate that came home about 10:35, Ms.
Correct.
Novak. And was Mr. Mandel still present at that time?
Yes, he was.
And did he continue to stay there for a period of time?
Yes.
All right. Did your other roommate ever come home that evening?
Yes, she did.
What time did the other roommate come home, if you know?
She came home a few minutes before 11 o'clock.
All right? And was Mr. Mandel still there at that
He
point?
was leaving exactly when she came home.
All right, just a few minutes before 11 o'clock?
Right.
Okay, and that roommate's name is Miss Jennifer Yao?
Jennifer Yao.
All right. So then at one point that evening, Miss Jennifer Yao was present, your other roommate, Miss Novak, was present, along with you and Mr. Mandel.
Right.
All right. And then, as I understand your testimony, Mr. Mandel left. Is that correct?
Yes, that is.
And did something happen about 11 o'clock that, so you knew what time that was? Were you watching television?
I sat down with my roommate Jennifer. We talked about our day, and we turned on the television, and the evening news started.
All right. So then the evening news being at what time, 11 o'clock?
11 o'clock.
All right. And so at this point, Mr. Mandel has now left, and it's you and your two roommates. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Now, at any time up to the time that Mr. Mandel left, did you hear any furious barking or any loud barking in that particular area at all that night?
No, I didn't.
As you walked past 875, you already told us you didn't hear any barking at that point, right?
Correct.
As you before you got home that evening, did you hear any barking that you recall? of
No, I
dogs?
never heard any barking at all.
All right. Now, at some point, you had occasion to talk to some police officers regarding this case. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you also had occasion to speak with the lady to my immediate left, Miss Marcia Clark.
Yes.
Do you recall approximately when it was that you talked to Miss Marcia Clark?
When I met with Marcia Clark
Yes.
in August of last year,
All right, and you met with her where?
in her office.
In this building?
Yes, in this building.
All right. And who else was present during the conversation that you had with Miss Marcia Clark?
I forget the gentleman's last name. Investigator Phil. I feel very embarrassed. He was a very nice gentleman. I don't
Just one
remember.
second. Let me ask you, could it have been Bill Hodgman, a tall gentleman?
No, it wasn't Bill Hodgman. It was an investigator. Van Etter?
Phil Van Adder,
Yes.
an LAPD detective? All right, so,
Yes.
all right, we can't, like, name the investigator. So Phil Van Adder?
Correct.
All right. So you and Mr. Detective Van Adder and Marcia Clark met in her office in August of 1994. Is that correct?
Yes.
And how long did that meeting last?
About an hour. And my recollection is, I think it was a little longer than an hour, maybe an hour and a half.
And during that time, did you discuss the events of the night of June 12th, 1994?
Yes, we did.
And you told Ms. Clark everything to the best of your recollection, did you?
Yes, I did.
And was she taking notes at that time, Ms. Clark?
Yes, I think she was.
And was Detective Van Adder taking notes?
I honestly can't recall if there was a pad in front of him at all times or not.
Do you recall whether or not either one of them tape recorded your conversation?
The conversation was not tape recorded.
All right. And it was during the entire 90 minutes or so that you talked to them? Were they the only two in the room, or did the others come in?
No, there was only two of them were in the room.
And prior to this conversation in August of 1994, had you had occasion to talk to the members of the Los Angeles Police Department about your observations on the evening of June 12th before you met with Ms. Clark?
Yes.
And do you recall when that was approximately that you first spoke with the police in connection with your observations of June 12th?
The first time I spoke with the police was on Tuesday, June 14th.
All right, that would be 2 days after that Sunday, is that correct?
Yes.
And how did it happen that you spoke to a police officer at that time? Did you call them or they call you?
I called them.
And was it your intent to share with them some information that you thought you had?
Correct.
This might be a good point, Your Honor.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our recess for the noon hour. Please remember all of my admonitions to you. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves, form any opinions about the case, conduct any deliberations till the matter has been submitted to you, or allow anybody to communicate with you with regard to the case. And Ms. Aaronson, you may step down. You're ordered to come back at 1:30. All right? All right, we'll stand in recess until 1:30.
sidewalk of Gorham Avenue to Bundy Drive, and paren, witness decided with Mandel to take the long route. Is that correct?
Correct.
The long route home rather than south on Westgate. Is that right?
Correct.
And you told the detective that, didn't you?
Yes.
And that was true, was it not?
Yes, it is.
That the two continued to walk leisurely southbound on Bundy Drive on the west sidewalk to Darlington Avenue. Is that correct?
I think we need page 2 here.
Oh, Mr. Thank you, Aaron. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Can you bring that up?
Is that yes?
Yes, sorry.
The council neglected to complete the sentence that was being read,
Maybe I don't see it.
rather than south on Westgate Avenue.
Let me make sure that. Mr. Harris, can you put the first page back over?
Back out.
Put the first page just for a second. Turn it back over. Let me ask you this, that the witness decided with Mandel to take the long route, I'll turn it over, home rather than south on Westgate Avenue. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thought I'd covered that.
Oh,
At the bottom. I'm not sure you're still there. They continue on. The two continued to walk leisurely southbound on Bundy Drive, the west sidewalk to Darlington. Is that correct?
correct.
And that's the route you've shown us here. Is that correct?
Yes.
That, again, I'll wait for Mr. Harris to do that. Again, the witness recalled that nothing unusual occurred to gain her attention. Is that correct?
Correct.
The witness did not hear any dogs barking or see any vehicles.
Correct.
So indicated. Witness stated she did not stop in front of Nicole Simpson's residence or look down the Simpson walkway. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, witness said there was no reason to stop on the walk home.
Correct.
All right? That witness estimates she passed Nicole Simpson's residence at approximately 22:20 to 22:25 hours. Is that correct?
Correct.
And that you went on to tell that witness reported that Dan Mandel could possibly obtain a copy of his credit card receipt. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, when you talked to Detective Kilcoyne on July 8th, again, you had told him you had to get the time frame squared away. You tried to be accurate, did you not?
As accurate as possible.
All right, and then later on, on September 12th, 1994, at about 9:15 in the morning, you had occasion to speak with Miss Marcia Clark and with Detective Van Adder. Is that correct?
Overruled.
And I would like now to refer to defendants, I think it's 1236, Your Honor. May I ask you to put 1236 up, Your Honor, for identification. Do you have a copy of it? It'll be up in just a second.
Sheriff, can you back out just a bit? That's fine, thank you.
Can you see that on the monitor? All right.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you some questions about this statement written by Detective Van Adder, the interview with Van Adder and Clark. All right? Did you indicate to them when you met them in this building that you related the same information as given on the previous interviews, except to give the exact direction she and your blind date, Dan Mandel, had taken while walking home? Is that correct? Gave them the exact route that you took here today?
Yes, I did.
That you told them that you left the Mezzaluna restaurant at approximately 2200 to 2205 hours, like 10:05 hours, is that correct?
Correct.
That you walked south on Gorham to Bundy, where they walked south on the west side of Bundy, is that correct?
Correct.
Stated there were very few vehicles on Bundy, and you did not observe any other persons walking. Did you tell them that?
Yes.
Was that correct?
Yes.
That when you arrived at Darlington, Darlington was your street, was it not?
Darlington is my street.
that they observed two persons walking a medium-sized, short-haired dog. Did you tell them that?
Yes.
Is that what you told us here today?
Yes.
Is that accurate?
Yes.
They then walked east on Darlington on the north side and stopped halfway between the corner and her residence. Period. She stated she asked Danny if he wanted to come up to her apartment. Danny looked at his watch. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And that she believed at that time it was 22:28 to 22:29 hours, 10:28, 10:29 hours. Is that correct?
Correct.
She stated her apartment was approximately a 4-minute walk from the murder scene, and that they passed that location at approximately 22:25 or 10:25. Is that what you indicated to Ms. Clark and Detective Van Nuys?
Yes.
And was that accurate?
Yes.
She stated she did not hear nor see anything when they walked by, not hear any dogs barking. Did you make that statement?
Yes, I did.
And is that accurate?
Completely.
Now, as you were walking along Bundy towards Darlington, did you ever at any time see any bloody paw prints on that sidewalk, the direction in which you were heading?
No.
As you walk past 875 South Bundy, did you ever hear the sound of a gate clanging at all?
No.
Did you ever hear a man's voice say, "Hey, hey, hey"?
No.
Did you ever hear the sound of two voices as you walk past there?
Overruled.
I never heard anything.
It was quiet and nothing. Was anything ever called to your attention as you walked past?
Nothing was called to my attention.
And when you call the police, it's your best recollection that was on June 14th, is that correct? I'll restate it. What was the date of your best recollection when you called the detective the first time?
Tuesday. So whatever that Tuesday is,
All right.
which I think is the
All right,
14th.
If Sunday was the 12th, then
It was the
Tuesday would be the
14th.
14th, right? All right. That's your best recollection, right?
Yes.
And when you were calling, and in your subsequent calls, why were you calling the police?
I thought it was my civic duty to call the police.
And you didn't know O.J. Simpson, you didn't know his involvement or anything in this case, did you, at that time?
Objection, ask the answer.
Oh, didn't ask that. You weren't trying to help O.J. Simpson, were you?
I knew that he was involved, but I was not trying to help him.
All right. You called because of why?
Because the news reports were saying that at the time that I was around there was a,
Overruled. This is just limited to the purpose, not that what the news report said was true, but merely to explain why Ms. Aaronson called the police. You can finish your answer.
okay. The news reports were saying that there was a dog barking, that there were lights on a Bronco. I think they said the hazards were on, the lights were blinking. At the point that I was at that street, on the street, there was nothing. It was an extremely quiet evening, out of a movie. I thought it was weird, and that's why I called the police, just to give the information. If they want to know what other people thought about the street, that's why I called. I honestly never thought I would get this far.
All right. And so in calling the police and in talking to us here today, have you told us the truth about what happened that evening?
Yes.
You weren't trying to help one side or the other, were you?
No.
Just tell the truth?
Yes, I did.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Clark, anything else?
Ms. Aaronson, very briefly. Is it your testimony that you told Detective Kilcoyne about seeing a couple walking a dog on Darlington?
Objection, that's beyond the scope of
Overruled. It was in the statement.
I'm getting so confused.
Do you remember the question?
Yes, I do remember the question, and I also know that I said to you that I do think that I said something to him. I don't recall when I said something about the dog.
Okay. You reviewed...
I haven't read everything, to tell you the truth, to remember everything that I wrote down and said.
You reviewed the statement you gave to Detective Kilcoyne on July the 8th, correct?
Yes, very briefly, I just did.
And the statement you're looking at now, that's up on the Elmo, is defense 1236. That was not a statement given to Detective Kilcoyne, was it?
No.
That,
Overruled. Overruled.
this was a statement that you gave to Detective Van Adder in my presence, correct?
Correct.
And you reviewed the statement you gave to Detective Kilcoyne on June the 15th, have you not?
Very briefly, yes, I have.
Again, People's 495. That statement,
Right.
correct? That statement makes no mention of having seen a couple walking a dog, correct?
Correct.
And the July 8th statement also that you gave to Detective Kilcoyne makes no statement of having seen a couple walking a dog.
Correct.
So would it be fair to say that you, the first time you mentioned to a police officer seeing a couple walking a dog on Darlington was in September when you spoke to Detective Van Adder?
Overruled. Overruled.
It's fair.
And the statement that you see now before you, June the 15th, that you gave to Detective Kilcoyne, can you tell us, first of all, based on what you told him, was it an accurate representation of what you said, where he wrote, witness and her date walked to her apartment, passing the crime scene location at 11 o'clock or 2300 hours?
Overruled.
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Based on what you told Detective Kilcoyne on June the 15th, is the statement that where he puts, quote, witness and her date walked to her apartment, passing the crime scene location at 11 o'clock or 2300 hours, is that a fair statement, representation of what you told him?
It is a fair statement of representation of what I told him on the 15th.
And that you knew the time because you looked at your wristwatch and you were surprised at the hour. You did tell him that also,
There's a sentence in there missing.
that was at 10 to 11, correct?
Yes, that I looked at my watch at the restaurant at 10 to 11.
All right. Nevertheless, you did tell him that you looked at your watch and you were surprised at the hour, correct?
Correct, that it was 10 to.
And it is also correct and accurate then when he states that at 11:25 to 11:30, your roommate Jennifer Yao came home from Manhattan Beach and remarked about the time. You did tell him that.
I don't recall telling him the time 11:25, 11:30, but that's what's written down there, so I understand why I wrote it.
And you wrote it because you estimated that about a half an hour after you got home, your roommate arrived?
Right.
So that would be a fair and accurate representation of what you told him.
Yes, it is.
Just last answer. With regard to, so that we're absolutely clear. You told Detective Kilcoyne the first time you made a statement you weren't sure on the times, isn't that right?
Yes, I did.
And so the statement Ms. Clark had up there was the time when you first talked to the detective and weren't clear on the times, right?
Yes, it is.
Overruled.
The statements which I had you read and just read for this jury were after you checked the times and were clear on the times, right?
Correct.
Sustained. That was leading, counsel.
Okay, let me see. What's the difference in the statements that I had you read for this jury just a few moments ago?
Overruled.
The statement I read that you showed me is the statement I gave to the police after I checked all of my times. And after I was positive with what times everything took place.
And were those accurate times?
Yes, they are.
Is that the truth?
Yes, it is.
Is that what happened that night?
Yes, it is.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Ms. Clark, anything else? All right, Ms. Aaronson, thank you very much. You're excused.
Thank you.
All right, next witness. Oh, would you hand the exhibit back to Ms. Clark, please? Thank you.
I'd like to call Francesca Harmon, Your Honor.
All right, Francesca Harmon. And Mrs. Robertson, let's... Hold on just a second. Mrs. Robertson.
Please. You do solemnly swear that the testimony you may give in the cause not being before this court should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please have a seat in the witness stand and state and spell your first and last names for the record.
My name is Francesca Harmon.
May we have the spelling, please?
I can't hear the question.
Could you spelling of your name, please?
The first or the last?
Both.
First, Francesca, Francesca. Last name Harmon, Harman.
Good afternoon, Ms. Harmon.
Good afternoon.
Are you a little nervous this afternoon?
Yes, I am.
Have you ever testified before?
No, I have not.
We're going to just ask a very few questions of you this afternoon. Were you in the Brentwood area on June the 12th, 1994?
Yes, I was.
And is there any reason why that date is important to you and you remember it?
That was the date of a double homicide in Brentwood.
Where were you in the early evening hours of June the 12th?
I was at 11908 Dorothy Street at a dinner party.
Who was this dinner party being held by?
It was being held by one colleague of mine who I work with, and then another colleague was also there, and then an upstairs neighbor.
What type of work do you do?
I'm a convention service manager at a local hotel.
Which hotel is that?
It's the...
Hold on. Is that necessary?
Just if they wanted to get a plug for the hotel. No, it is not, Your Honor. And at what time did you arrive for this dinner party?
somewhere between 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock. The dinner party was called for 6, and I arrived, I would say, about 6:35.
And what time did you leave the dinner party?
10:15.
How do you know the time?
There's a clock on a credenza by the doorway when I left, and so you can't help but see the clock as you leave.
Did you have work the next morning?
Yes, I did.
And what time do you work the next morning?
I had to be at work at 8:30 a.m.
Did you have anything of an alcoholic beverage to drink during this dinner party?
No, I did not.
Did you go by yourself?
I drove there by myself, yes.
Did you leave by yourself?
Yes, I did.
Would you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what happened when you left this apartment dinner party?
Do you want me to point?
Yes, please, if that'll be helpful to you.
Dorothy Street, and this street is Westgate.
Do we need that microphone, Your Honor?
No, Flossie Pierce can hear.
Can you hear me? Anyway, this is Westgate, this is Dorothy, and 11908 is the corner apartment right here. My car was parked right in front of the building facing east. So when I left, I got in my car, I had to take the club off, turn the ignition on, pull out of the space, and then go to this corner here and pull a U-turn and come back down Dorothy to the stop sign here at Dorothy and Bundy.
Let's just stop there for a moment. First, you said you had to take the club off.
Yes.
What is that?
The club is a metal contraption so that my car isn't stolen.
And about how long did it take you from the time you last saw the clock at 10:15 in the apartment to the time you actually started your car on Dorothy?
It's probably about two minutes before I left, did my pleasantries, walked from the apartments in the back of the building, and I had to walk to the front of the building, go down the stairs, out of the building, to my car, and then in the car do all, take the club off.
What was the traffic conditions like on Dorothy?
Light.
Was there any traffic going on that you remember?
No. Dorothy, it's a little bit of a narrow street, so you have to be really conscious of cars coming, because otherwise you're going to run right into each other.
What about the noise on that street? Can you describe that for the jury?
When I was in my car here, coming back down, I didn't hear any kind of noise that I felt was unusual in any way.
Was it a quiet evening?
Yes, it was.
When you got to the corner of Dorothy and Bundy, do you have a way of estimating what time it was?
Yes, I do.
And how can you do that?
In my car, I have a digital display for my radio, and all the displays are in the same area. The digital display is broken, and the only way I can tell what radio station I'm on, is if I stick my finger on it and look. And so by looking, the clock is right above it, and it was 10:20 because I was looking to see what station I was on.
How fast were you driving as you got to Dorothy and Bundy?
Here, probably about 10 miles per hour.
When you got to the corner of the intersection, could you describe what the conditions were at that location to the jury, as far as traffic and noise in the area?
I didn't think that there was anything out of the unusual at the corner. When I got there, I stopped at the stop sign, and then I rolled the car out a little bit into the street, and I checked both ways just to be sure nothing was coming. And I made a right turn, going north up towards Montana.
You were headed home.
Yes, I was.
At some time later, did it come to your attention that you had passed the condominium where Nicole Brown Simpson lived and was murdered?
Objection, Your Honor, please.
Sustained, rephrase the question.
Have you ever learned where Nicole Brown Simpson lived?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ask the question.
Yes, I have learned where she lives.
And do you have any knowledge as to whether you passed that location?
On the night of the murder, I didn't know that she lived there.
Subsequently, did you come to learn where she lived?
Yes, I did.
And subsequently, did you come to discover whether or not you had passed that location?
Yes, I did. It was that Tuesday, June 14th, when I was told about what happened. And then I got into a discussion with a young lady that held the party, exactly what we were doing. And then, my gosh, is it possible we were having dinner when this was happening? And consequently, watching TV and seeing pictures. So that's...
Can you point out to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury where the condominium that you later found that Nicole Brown Simpson resided at
This
was
one.
located?
Here,
Pointing to the red
the red one.
stamp. About how fast were you driving when you went past that location?
Well, I'd been at a stop, so 0, and then going up to 5, maybe 10 miles by the time I passed it, and then accelerating to get home.
Was there any traffic as you passed that location?
Just traffic that I would think was normal on the street.
Was there any noise that was unusual?
I didn't hear any noise.
Did you hear the sound of a barking dog?
No, I did not.
Did you hear the wailing of a dog?
No, I did not.
Did you hear any argument or loud voices?
No, I did not.
Did you hear the sounds of something that would resemble a fight?
No, I did not.
You then proceeded home?
Then I proceeded home. Went
Thank
to Montana here, and I turned left, and I took Montana all the way home to Santa Monica.
Did you notice any white vehicle in the area on Bundy between Dorothy and Montana?
No, I did not.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Mr. Darden, we'll go to 315.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Did you happen to drive to the area located behind Nicole Brown's condo that night?
Is that this area here?
Well, you tell me. Do you know where she lived?
No. I mean, I didn't know that was her house until after the fact, and I would have no reason to be on this street here.
Guess you don't know whether or not there was a white Ford Bronco parked behind that structure at 1020 or not. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Are you being, or rather, were you kept in a room today as you waited to testify?
Yes, I was.
Were you kept there with other defense witnesses?
Could you be more clear on the question, please?
Well, were you in a room today with
Proceed.
Ellen Aaronson, a young woman wearing a beige or taupe blazer?
Very, very, very briefly.
Okay. Did you see her on Bundy, walking on Bundy Avenue that night at 1020?
I didn't notice her.
Okay. In fact,
You have stated before, have you not, that you did not see any pedestrians on the street, that
That's-
is on Bundy.
That's correct.
Okay, so you didn't see Ellen Aaronson,
No, I didn't.
and you didn't see Danny Mandel.
No.
Okay, and it's your testimony that you were on Bundy at 10:20 p.m., is that
I was at
right?
the corner of Dorothy and Bundy at 10:20.
And then you made a right turn.
Then I made a right turn.
You were driving north at that point, is that correct?
Correct.
You drove north on Bundy,
Correct.
didn't see anybody walking.
I didn't notice anything that was unusual.
Now, as you drove north on Bundy, Nicole Brown's condo would have been to your left, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. You're driving on the right-hand side of the street.
Correct.
The condo is on the opposite side of the street. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is there a yellow line dividing the middle of the street?
Yes.
And so I take it then that as you drove north on Bundy Drive, you were looking at the road.
Correct.
You were looking ahead.
That's correct.
You weren't looking to your left across the street at Bundy.
I would have no reason to.
Have you been back to the area near 875 South Bundy?
Yes, I have.
And why did you go back?
I have friends that live on Dorothy. I have friends that live on Darlington. I have friends that live on Kiowa. So I'm always coming down Bundy.
Okay. Now, as you drove north on Bundy, you had your radio on?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And what kind of car were you driving?
Nissan 300Z.
Okay. Convertible?
No.
Hard top?
Yes.
Was the top on?
Yes.
And you didn't hear any noise that sounded like fighting?
No, I did not.
And you couldn't hear any noise that sounded like fighting because you were listening to the radio, is that correct?
I had the radio on. I did not hear any noise.
Okay. You didn't hear any scuffling?
I did not.
You didn't hear anyone yell anything?
No, I did not.
And you couldn't hear those things because you had the window rolled up, is that correct?
No, the window is actually cracked because I always open the window for circulation.
Okay.
So the window was open.
Okay, so the window was cracked.
Mm-hmm.
Is that yes?
That's correct.
The window wasn't completely open.
No, it was not.
Okay. Now, having gone back and looked at the location at 875 South Bundy, have you noticed that there's a very, very large palm tree almost directly in front of the walkway at 875 South Bundy?
There's a lot of things in front of the walkway right now. There's gates and yellow tape and trees and bushes.
Well, do you recall seeing those trees and bushes at that location when you passed it that night?
The trees and bushes I saw would have been as I turned right and the headlights fell on the trees and bushes, and then as the car came north, I would see the street. So that would be the trees and the bushes that I saw.
You want to show that to Mr. Shapiro? All right. Mr. Darden,
People's next in order, Your Honor.
496.
Okay. You won't have to cut the feed for this one. Let me show you a photograph, if I may. People's 496.
Right here?
Mr. Darden.
That's Bundy Drive,
Yes, it is.
and you made a right turn at that intersection and turned right, is that correct?
That's correct.
And do you see a bright light there in the background near one of the structures?
To the right, to the left of that palm tree?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Okay. And is that what you would have seen as you made that right turn on the Bundy?
Actually, my headlights don't cut, they cut off a little bit before that. I see that when I did the trip again, my headlights cut across onto that back gate and then the arched gate and then come across the low bushes and come into the street going north. They don't go up that high.
They don't go all the way up to 875 South Bundy?
No, no. You mean the actual entranceway?
Yes.
No, they didn't. They cut off, I mean, as I turning this way, if you see that arched gate, they shine on the arched gate, then they shine on the low bushes, and then they come across, and I'm headed north on Bundy.
And when the witness indicated turning, she indicated a turning motion to the right.
Okay. So in other words, you couldn't see the gate.
The gate in
Bundy.
question for the murders? No, I
Yes.
did not.
You say that you redrove the route.
Yes, I have redriven the route.
Did you do that with the defense, or did you do it on your own?
I did it with the defense.
Did you tell them that your headlights didn't hit the gate at 875 South Bundy?
I didn't have to. They were in the car with me.
And yet you're here to testify anyway, is that correct?
Sustain.
What's the next one? Next photograph, Your Honor, people 497. And you don't have to cut. Now, looking at that photograph, people 497, do you see a large tree there?
The tree in the foreground?
Yes.
Okay, I see that large palm tree in the foreground.
Okay, and is that tree directly in front of 875 South Bundy?
It looks to be from this picture.
Okay. And as you passed the 875 South Bundy location going north on Bundy,
Correct.
had you looked over to your left, you would have seen that palm tree. Is that correct?
I guess it would if I had looked.
Okay.
I didn't look.
Overruled.
You didn't see 3 Hispanic males in ski masks on Bundy, did you?
No, I did not.
Have one moment, Your Honor. I'm just about done. And I take it that you couldn't hear a dog barking given the fact that you had the radio on, is that right?
I did not hear a dog barking.
Okay. Now, you testified that you left your friend's house at 10:15.
Correct.
Okay, you didn't look at your own watch to determine what time it was when you left.
No, I looked at the desk clock that's on the credenza.
Okay, and is that credenza located in the kitchen?
There's another clock in the kitchen. There's a stove that has a clock in the middle of it where you usually turn the timer.
Okay, is that an antique stove in the kitchen?
No, it's a modern apartment building.
Okay. You didn't look at the clock on the stove before you left?
I wasn't in the kitchen. I was near the kitchen. We had cleared the dishes. I looked at that clock. Then we went back into the living room. And then I left with the upstairs neighbor, and I looked at that clock as I left because that's by the doorway.
Okay, when you say that clock,
Well, it's the desk clock on her credenza.
okay. Who is Randall Later, L-A-T-E-R?
He is a gentleman that I work with.
Okay, and what does he do?
He is in the security department of the hotel.
Okay. And is he also a private investigator?
Yes, he is.
And he took your statement, is that correct?
Yes, he did.
And he provided your statement to the defense?
I gave it to
Hold
him
on,
and...
hold on.
Okay.
Overruled.
Okay, you gave your statement to Mr. Later, is that
Yes, I
correct?
did.
Now, do you know a man named Tom Lang?
I do.
Okay. And do you know a man named Bob Bell?
No, I don't.
Does Tom Lang work for the same company you work for?
He doesn't work for the same company. He's just located in the same building.
Do you know Bob Wells? W-E-L-L-S?
Yes, I do know who he is.
Okay. Does he work for the same company you work for?
Yes, he's the owner.
Thank you.
Mr. Shapiro?
Ms. Harmon, how sure are you of the time when you were at the corner of Dorothy and Bundy?
I'm very sure, because pushing my finger in to look at the digital display, the clock is right there, and I looked at both, and I'm positive.
And the time was?
10:20.
About how long would it take you to get to the corner of Bundy and Montana? About what time do you estimate you got there?
Maybe 10:22, 10:23.
So you-
10:22, probably.
So clearly by 10:27, you were out of the area of the condominium of Nicole Brown Simpson?
Yes, I was.
How loud do you play your radio, and how loud, well, strike that. How loud were you playing your radio that night?
I don't consider it very loud.
You don't have one of those blast systems in your car?
No, I do not.
And how sure are you that you did not hear the sound of a barking or barking dogs?
I'm very sure I didn't hear anything.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Mr. Darden?
Ms. Harmon, the times that you've given us today, the accuracy of those times depend on the accuracy of someone else's kitchen clock. Is that correct?
And
Overruled.
desk clock, yes, it would.
Okay. And as well as the accuracy of the digital clock in your vehicle. Is that correct?
Yes, it would.
And so if those clocks are 1 or 2 or more or less minutes off, then your time would be off, wouldn't it?
It would, except I usually set the clock to KFWB, so I feel confident that the clock in my car was accurate.
I said mine in 92.3 The Beach. Thank you. That's all.
What station were you listening to?
97.1, KLSX.
Classic rock. Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Harmon.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take our recess at this time. Ladies and gentlemen, please remember all my admonitions to you. We'll stand in recess for 15. Mr. Cochran.
Yes, thank you very kindly, Your Honor. Our next witness, Your Honor, is Ms. Denise Pilnak. Ms. Pilnak, report, please.
All right, ma'am, could you stand right there, please, and face the clerk?
Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you may give in the cause now pending before this court should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Please have a seat on the witness stand and state and spell your first and last names for the record.
Denise Pilnak, Denise Pilnak.
Mr.
Can you
Cochran.
pull the microphone towards you a little bit, Ms. Pilnak?
Yes.
Good afternoon, Ms. Pilnak.
Good afternoon.
Ms. Pilnak, do you presently reside in the 900 block of South Bundy? I won't give your exact address.
Yes.
And back in the month of June of 1994, did you live in the 900 block of South Bundy?
Yes.
What line of work are you generally in, Ms. Pilnak?
I've been in the high-tech publishing business for about the last 10 years.
All right. Now, I'd like to direct your attention back to the date of June 12th of 1994. Do you recall that particular day?
Yes, I do.
And was that a Sunday?
Yes.
And as a result of your work in the publishing field, do you have any specific, strike that, as a result of your work in the publishing field, are you kind of a stickler for time?
I've been in sales for 20 years, so I have to account for my time.
And so you're kind of used to counting for your time?
Yes, sir.
Now, with regard to that date, June 12th, 1994, do you know the various things you did on that particular date?
Yes, I do.
And let's start with the morning. What were you doing at about 8:30 that morning?
I had to go over to my girlfriend's house and feed her dog. She was out of town.
All right. And what did you do after you fed your girlfriend's dog?
I met a bunch of friends. We meet every Sunday at 9 o'clock and run, and I ran 11 miles.
All right, you're a runner, are you?
Long distance, yes.
And you ran 11 miles that Sunday? Mm-hmm. You got to answer out. You got to say yes or no.
Yes.
All right. And do you run most days or many days?
Every day.
Did you know who Miss Nicole Brown Simpson was?
Yes, I did.
And you knew where she lived prior to June 12th, 1994?
No, I didn't.
How did you know who she was before that?
I used to see her running with her girlfriend, Cora.
All All right.
several times a week. But I just knew her. Just living in Brentwood, you know everyone.
All right. And you lived in Brentwood for a period of time, have you?
Yes, I have.
Now let's shift to the afternoon. We won't go through your entire day. Let's shift to the afternoon. What were you doing around 5:30 on that day?
Went to church,
Is that a church in that area?
St. Martin's of Tours on Sunset.
All right. And after that, did you have occasion to do something else?
Yes, my mother was in from the Midwest with her husband, and they were staying at my sister's. They came over, and we ended up having dinner.
All right. And you took them to some restaurant for dinner?
Yes, to Louise's.
All right. And that's Louise's located where?
It's on San Vicente. I don't know what the little side street is. It's right across from Toscana.
All right. Now, with regard to the times that evening, what time did you finish dinner at Louise's, if you know, and what time did you arrive back home?
We finished dinner sometime around close to 9:30 and got home just a couple minutes after. It only takes about 3 minutes.
To get home from Louise's?
Yes,
All right. What street is Louise's on, if you recall?
it is on San Vicente Boulevard.
All right. Now, you then returned home. Did you return home in the company of anyone else?
Yes.
And who was that?
My girlfriend was over, Judy T. She had joined us for dinner. She'd been over all day.
So how many people went to dinner? 4?
4.
There's Judy T. Lander, yourself, your mom, and
And her husband, Nick.
Nick. All right. Now, at some point after you returned home from dinner with Judy T. Lander, did your mom and Nick have occasion to leave your residence from the 900 block of South Bundy?
Yes, they did.
Can you tell the jury and the court and jury about what time they left your residence that evening?
When we came back, they just came in for about 5 minutes, so it was around 9:45 to 10 to 10.
And they were going someplace at that time?
They were staying at my sister's house in Torrance, so they were driving back to her home.
Okay. Now, after they left, did you have occasion to see what time it was after that as you looked toward obtaining some messages from your machine?
I did look at the clock because my girlfriend had been over all day using my computer.
And again, now what girlfriend are we talking about?
Judy T. Lander,
Okay. What time was that you looked at the clock?
10:18.
All right. And are you sure it was that time?
I am a stickler with time. I don't go anywhere without 2 watches when it's important.
For the record, Your Honor, you have 2 watches on today?
Yeah, my running watch, which is very accurate, and my other watch, which isn't.
All right. So you keep 2 watches at all times?
Well, not at all times, but when it's real important.
All right. Appreciate you being on time here today.
Yes.
Thank you. Now, you were about to tell us that your friend Judy T. Lander had been over pretty much all day using your computer, and so you had occasion to look at a clock or something to determine the time, and it was 10:18.
Yes.
Okay, and what happened at 10:18, please?
Well, Judy had been over all day, and I noticed the digital time. I said to her, Judy, it's 10:18. You've been here all day, and I'm going out of town in a couple days. You're going to have to leave. So
Well, you said, let's see now. You said that she's a friend, right?
she's a
So
friend.
you said that in a nice way,
In a
right?
nice way.
All right. So you said that you have to leave, or it's time to go home, right?
Yeah, it was time to go home, and I said, let's just print out your report, and you can look at it tomorrow, and any changes I'd be happy to make tomorrow.
All right.
But I had things I had to get done.
Okay, I understand. Did you at that time assist her and print out anything for her before she left?
Yes.
What did you print out for Judy T. Lander?
I printed out a letter that she had been working on all day, and actually it's 2 pages and then about 2 lines on the 3rd page. And I printed out 2 copies. I wasn't sure if it was 1 or 2. I think it was 2.
All right. Did you give that to her?
Yes, I did.
All right. And so you parted company at about what time?
10:21.
All right. And again, you're pretty sure about that time?
Well, I retimed everything. My little speech to her took about 45 seconds, and the printing out was 1 minute and 25 seconds for each 3-page copy. So that's right about 3 minutes.
All right. So after the fact, you went back and redid these things yourself. Is that right? Mm-hmm. Means yes?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. So how did you escort her out, or tell us what you did when Judy T. Lander was leaving?
Whenever my girlfriends leave my home, I always turn off the porch light, stand on the porch, watch them till they get in their car and take off, and then I make them call me when they get home, just so I know they're safe.
All right.
And I did exactly that.
All right. Did you, with regard, let's back up for a moment. When your mom and Nick left, did you see them outside also?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and did you make arrangements also for your mom to call when she got home?
I didn't ask my mother to call.
All right.
I told her I'd call her later.
But you made arrangements for Judy T-Lander to
Yes.
call. Now, when you walked out and you're on the porch with Judy T-Lander, can you describe for the jury the condition of Bundy Drive that particular night, that Sunday evening?
That Sunday evening, it was exceptionally quiet. As long as I've lived in that home, I never remember a night when it was absolutely still. There wasn't a sound to be heard.
All right, now, and what time is this that it's exceptionally quiet?
It was about, Judy and I were outside talking, probably between 10:21 and about 10:25.
And that time you're out on your porch, is that correct?
Yes,
And how long had you lived at that location at that point?
4 years.
So in the 4 years you lived there, you'd never heard Bundy so quiet as that night?
Yes.
So that we're clear, I want to show you People's 26 for identification. I might approach, Your Honor,
Yes.
and I'm going to give you a pointer and ask if you would familiarize yourself. You've seen this diagram before, have you not?
Yes.
And I want to indicate to you, counsel, that the red here is the Nicole Brown condo, Nicole Brown Simpson condo. And I want you to look, this is Dorothy, and this would be Darlington. And I'd like for you to point and show the jury where you lived approximately.
Right in the middle of this block,
All right?
on
So,
the east side.
all right, Your Honor, for the record of People's 26, Ms. Pilnak is indicating for the record she lives between Dorothy and Darlington on the east side of Bundy. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so that we're clear, have you had occasion to measure the distance from the corner there of Dorothy to your residence? You know, generally?
It's about 75 yards.
All right. So you know generally where you are at that location.
I'm a distance runner.
Okay. So you're on the east side of the street, right?
Yes.
Okay. So your porch is there where you and Judy T-Lander stood before she left. Is that correct?
Yes.
And at that time, it was about 10:25 p.m. on June 12th, 1994, right?
Yes.
And it was quieter than you could ever remember it. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you remember seeing any people walking around at that point? Seeing
No.
people walking? Do you remember seeing anybody walking dogs at that point?
No.
Do you remember hearing any dogs barking at that point at 10:25?
No.
All right, now, after you saw Judy T-Lander off, did you have occasion to come back in and do something at that time, at about 10:25 p.m.?
The minute Judy left, I picked up the telephone and called my mother to make
And-
sure she got home safely.
Now, your mother had left, I recall, at about 9:45 to 9:50?
Yes.
And she had to go to Gardena or Torrance or something?
Excuse me, just a second. Ms. Pilnak, if you would you allow the attorney to finish asking you the question completely before you start to answer? Court reporter can only take down one person at a
Yes.
time. Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Mr. Cochran?
So let me just, I'll try to restate it, Your Honor. As I understood your testimony, your mom and Nick had left at something like 9:45 to 9:50, is that correct?
Yes.
And after Judy T-Lander left, you then called your mom at some location, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and what time was it that you called your mother?
10:25.
And you have provided us with a phone bill, which I'd like to show the council. Mark is our next exhibit. If you have seen it. Council has it, Your Honor. May I mark this as the defendant's next in order, Your Honor?
1237.
We'll mark this defendant's Exhibit 1237. And I want to approach you, Ms. Pilnak, and I want to ask you what defendant's 1237 is. Will you look at that, please?
Yes.
Okay, tell the jury what that is.
That's my phone bill.
All right, that's your phone bill. And what's the date of that phone bill?
The date of the phone bill, well, the bill date is July 10th, but it includes calls from June 10th through June 15th on this page.
You have a phone call about June 12th, 1994 at about 10:25 p.m.?
Yes, I do.
Where is that call to?
It's to my sister's house.
Is that where your mom was?
Yes.
Did you connect with your mom and she made it?
Yes, I did.
And so this phone bill indicates the time that you call your mother at 10:25 p.m. Says Gardena on it with a phone number. Is that correct?
Yes.
You talked to her for about 3 minutes, did you?
Yes.
All right. Now I'm not going to put this on the Elmo, Your Honor, because I don't want to block out all these numbers. But this is an accurate copy of your phone bill that you received after June 12th, 1994. Is that right?
Yes.
The one you got on July 10th.
Yes.
Okay, is that right? So that reflects the fact that for about 3 minutes, is that accurate? That you talked to your mom? Well, let me rephrase that, Your Honor. Look at that phone bill and tell us how long you talked at 10:25 on the phone.
3 minutes.
Is that about accurate?
Yes.
All right. And after that, now that would make it about 10:28, is that correct?
Yes.
All right, and tell us then what happened after you placed this phone call to your mother.
Well, actually, while I was speaking with my mother, it was a portable phone. I washed 4 glasses and put them away, crystal glasses. Then I washed my face, brushed my teeth, flossed, and then I went into the kitchen to bring a bunch of newspapers and reading material into my bedroom and put those in the bedroom, and then I went back into the bathroom.
All right, now, these, you have a habit about collecting reading materials and keeping papers till you throw them away?
I don't throw anything away until I read it.
All right, so you collected up, what'd you do? You collected up a number of papers and things?
Yes.
All right, and ultimately you took those things and gathered them up and you took them someplace in your house?
Yes, into my bedroom, because
Now, up to that time, ma'am, up to the time that you picked these newspapers up and you brushed your teeth and flossed and everything, had you heard any loud dogs barking at that time?
No.
Was it still very quiet out?
I wasn't outside, but I didn't hear any noises from outside.
You couldn't hear anything from inside, is that correct?
Correct.
And when you had been out on your porch and Judy Thielander had left, had it been very, very quiet?
Extremely quiet.
All right. Now, at some point thereafter, did you hear a dog or dogs start barking?
When I went back into the bathroom, I was drying my hands, and I heard a dog barking.
All right. And to the best of your recollection, what time was that you heard this dog barking at that point? Your best recollection?
About 10:35.
All right. Near as you can tell, that was the earliest it was?
It could be 10:33, because I've retimed those activities.
All right. So between 10:33, 10:35, is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And you never came outside to check that dog, did you?
No.
All right. You just heard the dog barking?
Yes.
And did you hear this sound of barking? Did it continue for a period of time?
It continued for a long time.
All right. Do you recall what time you went to sleep that night?
Yes.
What time did you approximately fall off to sleep?
Well, I closed the lights off at 12:30
All right.
a.m.
You closed the lights off at 12:30. How soon after that did you go to sleep, if you know?
Probably right afterward.
All right. And at some point, did the dog, this dog stop barking?
Yes.
All right. Were you able to tell whether or not during that time frame of about 10:35 till you turned the lights off at 12:30, you ever heard more than one dog barking?
I'm not sure. I heard one continuous bark for a very long time.
All right. You can't tell us whether or not there was one dog or a different dog or whatever, but you heard a continuous bark. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And so when you finally got ready to fall asleep, did the barking stop at some point?
The barking had stopped.
All right. And that would have been at about 12:30, the barking stopped?
No, it had stopped before then.
Okay. Do you know when it had stopped approximately?
Approximately, it was a long time. I would have guessed that from the time it started barking, it had to be 45 minutes or so. But I don't know
All right,
precisely.
You didn't write anything down about that? particularly?
No, that
All
I
right.
didn't.
Now, with regard to the time of 10:15, which time you've indicated you were still in your house, Did you hear a dog barking at all at that time?
No,
And when you came out on that porch with Judy Tielander, and that was, I think you told us, between 10:21 and 10:25, you didn't hear any dogs barking at that time, did you?
no, we commented on how quiet it was.
And when you say we, you're talking about you and
Judy
Tielander?
and I commented.
Now, in connection with this, do you know and are you acquainted with a man by the name of Pablo Fenves?
Yes, I am.
And how do you know who he is?
He's another San Vicente runner.
All right, he's the person who runs in that general area
Yes.
out there? And did you have occasion to see him a short time after he testified in this trial, in this case?
I saw him the following day after the preliminary hearing.
All right, had he testified at the preliminary hearing?
Yes,
And with regard to his testimony, did you have a conversation with him?
yes, I did.
Did that conversation concern the time that the dog started barking on that particular night?
Yes,
Did you tell him that the dogs, well, I haven't finished the question yet.
Sustain. The way it's phrased.
All right, let me see if I can phrase it another way. Did you have occasion to discuss with him the time that you heard the dogs start barking that night, or the dog start barking that night?
yes,
All right, and what did you tell him in that regard? State of mind.
Sustain.
State of mind.
Sustain. It's irrelevant.
All right, with regard to, did you heard his testimony at the preliminary hearing?
yes,
Did you agree with him as to what time the dog started barking that night?
no,
Overruled.
Can I get your answer yet?
She said no.
And did you talk to him about that?
yes.
And where did that conversation take place?
In front of his condominium. I was coming back from a run.
And how long did that conversation last?
Probably about 10 minutes, 5 or 10 minutes.
And did he participate in the conversation at all?
Yes,
When's the last time you saw Mr. Pablo Fendes?
this morning at 8:06 a.m.
Did you have occasion at that time to talk about the same subject again, just generally?
Yes,
About the time the dogs started barking back then?
yes.
Does anything he said to you at any time change your mind as to what time you heard the dogs start barking?
No,
Overruled.
Now, Ms. Pilnak, at some time on June 13th, which I believe was a Monday, did you have occasion to go running on that Monday morning?
yes,
And was that your regular Monday morning run?
yes.
And you have some records today that you can show us what time you left home to go running that day also?
I usually, well, I have a phone bill, but I usually meet someone at a certain time and we have a
What time?
specific run. Usually about 8:30.
All right. And on that date, have you looked at some records that you had to determine whether or not you got a call right before you started to run?
Yes,
All right. And after that, after the phone call, you then went out running?
yes, I did.
Overruled.
All right.
It's
Now,
foundational at this point.
foundational, that's right, Shirley. When you came out of the house on that Monday morning, did you see anything unusual in and about Bundy in that location?
Yes, there was yellow tape all around the crime area.
All right? And what time was that you made that observation?
It's right about 8:30.
Had you been aware of anything prior to that time at all?
No,
And when you saw this yellow tape, you didn't have any idea of what had happened, what had taken place, did you?
no.
Did you then go on a run?
I did, but after I asked about what was happening in the neighborhood.
You inquired about what was going on, right?
Yes,
All right. And did you ascertain or find out that there had been some murders in your neighborhood?
yes. I was told there was a double homicide.
At that time, you didn't know who was involved, did you?
No,
You then went on your run?
yes,
And at some point, you returned and came back from your run, is that correct?
Yes.
Do you recall approximately what time it was that you got back?
Probably about 10 o'clock, or a little bit before 10.
All right. And after you got back home, after about a little before 10 o'clock on the Monday morning, June 13th, did you have occasion to talk to one or two police officers at some point?
Yes.
And at that time, did you become aware of who one of the victims was of the homicide?
It was prior
All right,
to them coming over.
Before that?
Yes.
And you became aware that Miss Nicole Brown Simpson was one of the victims?
Yes.
And that was very upsetting to you, was it not?
Very upsetting.
And when you talked to the police, did they come to your home?
Yes.
And it was a short time after you returned from your run and after you'd found out that Nicole Brown Simpson had been one of the victims of the homicide, is that right?
Yes.
When you talked to the police officer, did you indicate to them the approximate time that you thought the dogs had started barking the night before?
Sounds awfully leading to me.
Okay, let me see if I can restate it, Charlie. When you talk to the police, do you talk at all about dogs barking?
Yes.
Do you recall what you said at that time to the police, if anything?
Well, because of what had happened, I was in shock, and they asked me about what time I thought I heard the dogs bark, and I remember saying something around 11:30.
All right, was that accurate?
No.
All right, did you at some time later determine that wasn't accurate?
Yes, later that day.
All right, and how'd you make that determination?
Well, I just thought back about the events of the night, what had happened, and it was very easy to figure, exactly what time I heard the dogs barking.
So before that date was out, before June 13th, 1994, were you aware that 11:30 was not a correct time?
Yes.
Now, after that, of course, you got your phone bill and various other things happened. Is that correct?
Yes.
Sustained.
Foundational. At some point later in time, did you ever at any point send a correcting fax or letter to any detectives in this case?
Yes, I did.
And when you did that, when was that approximately? Was that it? Do you know when that was?
It was the day the trial began.
All right, the day this trial began, is that correct?
Yes.
And at that time, you sent, what'd you do?
I called the district attorney's office, and I believe I ended up speaking with Detective Van Adder
All right.
after making several calls, just to get to the right person.
All right, and after you talked to Detective Van Adder, did you,
I faxed him an itinerary of that day.
all right, you faxed him an itinerary of everything you did that day?
Yes.
The date of June 12th, 1994?
Yes.
Spelling out all the things we've talked about here and some others that we haven't talked about?
Yes.
And did you tell him at that time what times the dog had started barking on June 12th in the evening hours?
Yes, I did.
And what time was that, Ms. Pilnak?
About 10:35.
Are you sure about that?
Again, it could be between 10:33 and 10:35. Yes.
But you're sure about that?
Yes.